Our Nation Sports Show. Tonight, on the Nation Sports Show, we give our analysis, predictions for Super Bowl 58. Patrick Mahomes and Kansas City, the defending Super Bowl champions, will face Brock Purdy and the San Francisco 49ers. It is a rematch of Super Bowl 54. If Mahomes and the Chiefs win their third Super Bowl title in 5 years, one word will be associated with Kansas City: dynasty. We could be looking at another dynasty in the National Football League, but it will not be an easy task for Mahomes and Kansas City to conquer, as once again they will have to face that San Francisco defense that made their lives a living hell for 3 quarters in Super Bowl 54. Will the Chiefs be the first team since the New England Patriots to repeat as back-to-back Super Bowl champions? Or will San Francisco join the Patriots and the Pittsburgh Steelers as the only teams to win 6 Lombardi trophies? We will find out this Sunday in Las Vegas who will be the king of the National Football League, who will win the biggest game in the NFL. It's showtime. Turn me up. Turn me up. Turn me up. Turn me up.
Good up to the court, talking all that is sport, breaking down the latest news, scores, and more. Welcome to our Nation Sports Show.
All right, here we go, everybody. It is a Tuesday. Happy Tuesday, everybody, and it is our Nation Sports Show. What is going on? You wanted the best when it comes to sports talk? Of course, you got the best. What's going on? I am Ezra Vickery here. We thank you guys for joining us here live on youtube.com/Our Nation Sports Show. It's great to hear from you guys. It's great to be with you guys. Thank you for joining us as always. Man, we got a lot to get into. Super Bowl. The Super Bowl is next weekend. Of course, we're going to get into that. We're going to give our predictions. There's just a big Major League Baseball breaking news that came out about a player locking himself down for possibly the rest of his career. Plus, NBA trade line news and NBA news, including injury news. All that and more coming up in just a few minutes. But of course, we got to do the plugs in which you can interact with us. You can interact with us at ON_Sports Show. And then, of course, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, all at Our Nation Sports Show. Like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell your enemies, tell your neighbor, tell your dog, tell your cat. Tell the guy across the street who hates you because you don't mow your lawn correctly. Do whatever you got to do. But let them know about Our Nation Sports Show and get them to subscribe, man, because we love to hear from you guys and we love to see the energy. Also, don't forget to follow our brothers and sisters over at The Nation's Corner, at The Nation's Corner on YouTube, Nation's Corner, everywhere else, including, except for Instagram, at The Nation's Corner. Man, they had a hell of a guest this past weekend, and that's, of course, our buddy, our friend, Busted Open's own Dave LaGreca. And what a great interview it was this past week. Check it out on youtube.com/Nation's Corner. And check it out, man. Dave was awesome to have on. to talk, of course, the Cody Rhodes situation, hashtag We Want Cody, and all this and more. And it was always a great time to have the host and founder of the greatest and best uh, wrestling show / podcast on the planet. So check it out if you guys get the opportunity. Also, don't forget to follow at Too Sweet Cosplay, my cosplay wrestling group, or my wrestling cosplay group across all of our socials, as we get prepared for the Comic-Con season coming up. C2E2, of course, is set to begin April 26th through the 28th. If you are in Chicago, if you're going to be in Chicago during that time, pick up your passes for 1 day, 3 days, whatever, at c2e2.com and check out the lineup, man. Some great names on there. Several members from the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers are going to be there, including the Yellow Ranger or the Pink Ranger and the Blue Ranger. Also, MJF, Samoa Joe, and Sting will be there as part of All Elite Wrestling. They'll be there on select days, so check out the site for that. Also, Chad Michael Murray from One Tree Hill will also be there, so check that out. If you're going to be in the area, it's going to be at McCormick Place in Chicago, Illinois, just right across the shore from Lake Michigan. So check that out, c2e2.com, April 6th through the 28th of this year. And we will let you know if we're having a booth there or not. As soon as we get that information, we'll let you know. As you can see right now, it is a 2-headed monster, but it will be a 3-headed one. Joey will be joining us a little bit later on tonight. He's running a little bit late, but he will be on with us. And of course, Kevin is, of course, taking care of his health right now, and we wish you the best, buddy. And we hope to have you back on the show very, very soon. But man, I get to be joined by the best here, and it is my heavy metal brother from North Carolina. I mean, this guy's had more people protest against him than a Slayer concert in the middle of a church service. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the one, the only Big Stevie Wyand. Steven, happy Tuesday, brother. Let's fucking rock and roll, dude.
Let's do this, my man. Yeah, what is going on, everybody? We are here. We are live here to talk about the upcoming Super Bowl and all things the world of sports, including, before we came on here at the top of the hour, there was some big breaking news that just broke across Major League Baseball. And obviously there's news in the NBA, and obviously college basketball's heating up, especially, with all the conference games going on across with Duke and North Carolina and happening this past Saturday, and UNC winning that game. And just a lot of things going on across the world of sports, including, like, not to mention again, the Super Bowl happening this Sunday with the Chiefs and the Niners. And we're going to break it all down here today and give our analysis on what both of these two teams need to win and all of that fun stuff. And, of course, give our predictions for the biggest game in the NFL. And with that being said, let's do this.
Absolutely, absolutely. And, of course, before we get into sports, of course, we would be kind of a little bit, it would not be us if we didn't mention it, because obviously not only are we, sports fans, we're wrestling fans, we're also music fans. And unfortunately, some sad news broke earlier this morning at about 4:40 Eastern time this morning, and that is the passing of country music legend Toby Keith. Toby Keith died after a long year-and-a-half battle with stomach cancer, at the age of 62 years old. For those of you who may not know, Toby Keith, country music artist, one of the greatest of his genre, had hits from 1993 with Dream Walking and Let's Talk, A Lot More Action, Who's That Man, to later on with How Do You Like Me Now, Red Solo Cup, freaking just so many hits across the board. Guy was a fixture of DreamWorks Nashville, the record label. That was around for a short time. They gave a lot of people a shot in the arm, like Jimmy Wayne, Emerson Drive, and Jessica Andrews. But yeah, Toby was big time. He was also big with the veterans, big with his patriotism, courtesy of the Red, White, and Blue. Angry American, of course, comes to mind. But yeah, unfortunately, we lost one of the greats today, or last night, shall we say, at the age of 62 years old due to stomach cancer. And we here at Sports Show want to send our condolences to the family, friends, and fellow fans of Toby Keith, and especially the artists. Artists, young and old, paying tribute. Artists as young as Luke Combs and Old Dominion to Alan Jackson and Garth Brooks, paying tribute to their fallen brother today. And we definitely want to send our heartfelt condolences to them as well. And may Toby Keith rest in peace.
Yes, and and Toby is just an incredible, resume of a career when it comes to country music. I mean, 20 number one hits and 22 other singles, in the top 10, top 15, top 20. I mean, just an incredible, stack of songs. I mean, Should Have Been a Cowboy and Beer for My Horses and Who's Your Daddy and I'm As Good as I Once Was and just all these American Soldier. I mean, just a lot of songs, just a countless of other songs that he either wrote or co-wrote he made, and just an incredible career, and just he left behind a legacy that will live on in infamy and forever. And just everybody that knew him, not just in the music industry, but also in the wrestling industry. I mean, he was going to WWF/WWE events when they were in Oklahoma. And he was also, obviously, if you people don't remember, he was at the first TNA weekly pay-per-view on June 19th of 2002.
Yep.
And just the dude was
And he was a guest host on Monday Night Raw.
And just I love the fact that he gave back to his community in Oklahoma. I mean, just he always never forgotten where he came from. And obviously he had the restaurant and bar, a couple of bars and restaurants that he owned throughout his career, and just again, like you said, we're sports fans, but also at the end of the day, we're music fans. And just because not only do I love rock and metal, but also I grew up, and as well as you did, Ezra, listening to old country. And Toby was one of the guys that I listened to growing up, along with Alan Jackson and Garth Brooks and George Strait, Brooks and Dunn, you name it. And just Toby is one of my favorites, and just his songwriting, for a guy in country. I mean, just an incredible songwriter. And he spoke about the things that he wanted to talk about, and I was reading something about, courtesy of the Red, White, and Blue, the Angry American, one of his biggest hits that he would close out his concerts with. And people were talking to him and saying, because initially he was just going to perform that song live. And they said, dude, you need to record this and put it on a record. And good thing he did, because not only is it one of his best songs that he ever wrote, but he was speaking from the heart, about, the 9/11 attacks, and obviously paying tribute to his father who served in the Army. And, just an incredible, incredible career that this man had, and collaborations with Willie Nelson and obviously his daughter Crystal on the classic hit Mockingbird. I mean, just an incredible career. And just just everybody out there in the music industry, Sammy Hagar, and all his, all the country guys that he worked with and was friends with. I mean, and obviously he left behind a legacy that will live on forever, and all of us here on the sports show.
I even saw a tweet from AJ Francis, aka Top Dollar.
Wow.
Talked about how his mom wore out one of Toby Keith's she wore out one of Toby Keith's albums in her car when he was just a young kid. So, it crosses all music. Chris music crosses all boundaries. Sports, wrestling, it doesn't matter. And like you said, Steven, it's a sad day, but we remember Toby Keith by listening to those songs, listening to those great hits, and his music will live on forever. He's a member of the Grand Ole Opry. He's a future country music Hall of Famer.
He's also in the Songwriters Hall of Fame, and rightly so. I mean, and what's also great about this man is, even while he was sick, while he was ill, he performed 3 sold-out shows at the MGM Grand at the Dolby Live in Las Vegas, Nevada. 3 nights, and 3 nights playing his biggest hits. And Sammy Hagar was in attendance at one of his last couple of concerts, and just an incredible, the fact that this man still performed in being in that condition. That just goes to show you that he gave back to all of the fans.
Absolutely, absolutely. And joining us right now, just walked in the door, ladies and gentlemen, is our buddy. Of course, our third-headed monster in this one, Joey JT Thornton. What's going on, my brother?
What is going on, everybody? Sorry I was a little late tonight. Had something to take care of, but I'm here now to talk some sports, so let's get into it, baby.
Absolutely, brother. We were just talking, we were actually just starting off tonight about talking about the unfortunate passing of the late, great Toby Keith. One of the, we're talking about his legacy and the different things, his accomplishments. We talked about his appearances on Monday Night Raw and on TNA programming back in the day. We talked about a bunch of different things. We don't want to spend the whole time, of course, talking about music because obviously this is a sports show. But I wanted to bring that up because obviously we're all music fans. Some of us even mainly country music. So it's a sad day to lose one of the greats of all time in not just in country music but in music in general.
Yeah, and absolutely. And I am going to keep this short and sweet since this is a music show. I did not find out about his passing, obviously, until this morning when I woke up. Because, to be honest, I didn't even know he had stomach cancer.
Yeah,
but whenever I saw of his passing, it hit me like a ton of bricks because I admire Toby Keith. Two of my favorite songs of his were, of course, Red Solo Cup because it was just too catchy. And, of course, my favorite song of his was I Ain't As Good As I Once Was.
Yeah, so, of course. Classic.
Those were definitely two of my favorites from Toby Keith. Prayers and condolences go out to his family at this time. And just may the Lord be with them.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. And speaking of Oklahomans, before we get going on the sport talk, I want to throw out a special shout out to the Velvet Voice of pro wrestling, and that is, of course, Mr. Walker Stewart. For those of you who don't know, Walker Stewart has been a pro wrestling announcer. He did Mission Pro Wrestling. He's done Mission Pro Wrestling for a long time, but now he is the lead play-by-play voice of New Japan Pro Wrestling. You can catch him on nearly every New Japan event, major one, on NewJapanWorld.com and the New Japan World app. Great guy, great voice, young kid, only 21 years old, but seems like he's been doing it for decades. He works hard. He's a great dude. Please give him a follow. Velvet Voice WS. Just an amazing, amazing guy who's putting out one hell of a thing with New Japan Pro Wrestling, commentating, along with Chris Charlton, Rocky Romero, and whoever else they bring along. But he's doing an awesome job. I want to give him a shout out. From us here at Sports Show. We love what you're doing, brother. But we got a lot to get into, guys, sports-wise. So let's rock and roll. And let's start off with the big breaking news that broke a little bit ago from the world of Major League Baseball, and that is that Jose Altuve has signed a 5-year, $125 million deal to stay with the Houston Astros. He said he signed it to be a quote-unquote Astro for life. Huge news on the Houston Astros side of things to re-sign one of their best hitters that they have. That's big, big news. Not only for the Astros, but it's also a big payday for Mr. Altuve as well. Rightfully deserved because he's put on some fucking great performances over the past few years. And you know what? It's both sides are happy about it. So hey, guess what? Congratulations. Jose got a big payday.
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely big news for the Houston Astros because, I mean, I remember Jose Altuve all too well because even though Atlanta was able to win the World Series over Houston in 6 games a couple years back, Jose Altuve was a pain in our butt because it seems like every time he came up to the plate, he was getting a homer, he was getting an extra base hit. When he was in the field, he was robbing Braves players of hits. So, I mean, I know Jose Altuve all too well, and I'm sure everybody does. And real quick, since we're talking about him, I got some interesting stats for you guys. Jose Altuve's performances in the postseason leading up to this point. He is 7th in all-time games, 3rd in all-time at-bats, 2nd in all-time runs, and this is just for and yes, this is MLB history, not just Houston history, but the entire MLB. He is tied for 3rd in hits, 2nd in home runs, and 5th in doubles.
Damn.
I mean, talk about an impact that this man has made over the course of his career.
I'm excited for him.
Absolutely.
I'm excited for him. He deserves the big payday. He's worked his ass off. He's got himself a Hall of Fame career. And if this is the way he wants to finish his career with the Houston Astros, then guess what? He's loyal to his team. He might as well finish it off. So congrats to Altuve on that big payday, man.
Exactly. And this is a guy that, any pitcher that has faced this guy coming up to the plate, they fear him. And they should, because at any given minute or second, He could be on a cold streak and then out of nowhere, boom, just knock one out of the park. I mean, just an incredible player. And just when he gets hot, when the bat gets hot, watch out because he's one of the most dangerous hitters in baseball history.
Oh, damn. There's somebody, and I forgot there was another big signing that happened. And Joey, I'm sure you know this one, and that is for the Kansas City Royals. Bobby Witt Jr. signed an 11-year, $288.8 million deal extension with the Royals to stick around.
Absolutely. And that could not have come at a better time for the Kansas City Royals. I mean, Bobby Witt is definitely one of the best shortstops, one of the best young shortstops, I might add, that Kansas City has had on their roster in quite some time because the guy can field, the guy can hit, the guy can throw. I mean, there is not a whole lot of things when it comes to baseball that this guy can't do. So, smart move by the Royals inking this guy to an 11-year deal. Smart move.
Absolutely, man. You know, we could talk about this. You know, it's crazy to see the amount of money that these people throw out for these players. But understandably so, really, baseball doesn't have a salary cap. So they can throw out copious amounts of money and say, fuck it, hey, you know what? Let's pay this guy 15 years and pay him $400 million, where that's unheard of in the world of Major League or unheard of in the NBA or the NFL.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm not sure if you mentioned the value of his contract, but it is indeed an 11-year deal with more than $288.7 million guaranteed.
Damn, that's pretty much all. That's at least 99% of what he's making. Almost all of it's guaranteed, except for I think like $1 million.
Yeah, $100 million of that, because it also includes a 3-year, $89 million team option that would drive the value to more than $377 million and keep Witt with the Royals through at least the 2037 season.
All right, the Royals made a good shop there, and I'm happy for them on that. But yeah, we're talking about trades and signings. I mean, why don't we talk about it? The NBA trade deadline, I believe, isn't that today, right?
Let me.
Or is that later this week? I'm trying to remember.
Let me confirm that real quick.
Well, while you do that, let me bring up the big news, and that was that Joel Embiid had knee surgery yesterday. They said he's going to be out at least 4 weeks. So he is guaranteed. So there is a slot where he could return before the end of the regular season. However, because of the new rule about the MVP, new rules about MVP and how that works, where you have to play a certain amount of time. Unfortunately, he's not going to be able to qualify for the MVP award because he will miss that amount of time he's going to miss, which is 4 weeks. Unfortunately, disqualifies him from the MVP discussion.
Yep. And I will let you know that the NBA trade deadline is this Thursday, February the 8th at 3 p.m.
Okay. All right. So, I haven't gone down Adrian Wojnarowski's page yet. I haven't checked anything, which I'm going to actually right now. But I know that oh yeah, and of course we got to talk about this, and it's bad news in a way for the Bulls, and that is that Zach LaVine is out for the remainder of the season with a foot injury.
Ooh.
He had to have surgery, so he's done for the rest of the year. And this is unfortunately a Bulls team that's been kind of up and down. There's some days where they play better without him, some days where they play better with him. It's a team that has had its struggles. Obviously, the whole Lonzo Ball situation where he's been basically sitting on the medically disabled list, where he's been injured for the past 3 years. Now Zach LaVine's down, and he signed a big contract, and he's been underwhelming this past season. But luckily they've had some great standout players who have taken the reins a little bit. Alex Caruso, there was one good thing, and that is that Vucevic, I believe, is set to sign an extension to stick around with Chicago. If I'm not mistaken, or he has already. Vucevic has stepped up. Alex Caruso has stepped up. Kobe White has stepped up in big clutch situations. So definitely, it sucks for them to lose Zach, but we'll see. Hopefully, he gets better next season. It'll be worth the money we spent on him. Unfortunately, that's a concern I have. The second time in 3 games, Klay Thompson was benched at the again. He said, "I feel great physically. Mentally, probably a little different story, but such is life, huh?"
Yeah.
Yeah, so a little bit of trouble in paradise over there in Golden State when it comes to like Klay Thompson not playing well. So Cleveland's here we go. All-star guard Donovan Mitchell says he plans to participate in the 3-point shooting contest on Saturday night in Indy. Speaking of the All-Star teams, I mean, I could go over the All-Star rosters, but it's obviously the same subjects, the usual suspects.
Yeah.
LeBron, Luka, Anthony Davis, Julius Randle, things like that. Players like that.
Wait a minute. Did you say Anthony Davis?
I believe he's on there.
Wow. So if he is there, they actually let a plastic figurine make the All-Star roster? Huh. Interesting.
He's like the porcelain figurines your mom used to collect and put on the shelf. And the cat knocks it over and it breaks, and you have to put it all together. It's like what would happen.
Or better yet, when the human comes into the room, he collapses to the floor like an old Toy Story toy.
It's like what would happen if we it's like what would happen if we let Kevin officiate an NBA game. It just doesn't work.
Oh Jesus! Whoa!
Because if Kevin officiated an NBA game, he'd be throwing technicals on LeBron for no reason. He would be like that ref that does that shit to Kyrie Irving.
Or better yet, if Kevin were to officiate an NBA game, every time LeBron would walk out early, he's suspended for the next number of games compared to how many minutes he left early.
So he'll be suspended 4 games because he left 4 minutes.
Yes.
And unfortunately, some sad news coming out of the world. That is, Detroit Pistons lost one of the members of their organization, Earl Cureton. He passed away, I believe, at the age of 67 years old, 66 years old. He was a member of their organization. He was a player on the court as well. But unfortunately, Isaiah Thomas posted a tribute to him. Fortunately, yeah, he passed away. It doesn't say what of, but definitely condolences to the Pistons organization. Let's see real quick. Also, Lakers forward Jared Vanderbilt is expected to miss several weeks with a right foot injury, which he suffered a few days ago. So, not good news for the Lakers on that front. Jerome Allen will become the USA basketball's head coach for the America Cup qualifying team in its February game versus Cuba. He replaces Dave.
Oh,
Go ahead. What you got?
Speaking of coaches, there's something that's kind of been puzzling me as of late.
Why Doc Rivers is the head coach of the All-Star
I was about to say, okay, so you bring a guy on board who you wanted at the beginning of the season. You fire your head coach halfway through the regular season. He loses his first 2 games, finally wins one, and how do you reward him? He's named the coach for the All-Star team? Help me figure this out, because I certainly can't.
You know what? I'll help you out, Joey. It's favoritism. It's biasness. Doc Rivers hasn't done nothing past in the postseason since he won the NBA championship long ago with the Celtics in 2008. And it's hilarious how they give Rivers the All-Star game prestige of being the coach of the team when he hasn't won that many games with the Milwaukee Bucks. I mean, if you earned, multiple, like over 25, 30 or more victories, yeah, you deserve to be the head coach of the squad that you're coaching. But no way in the world has any coach been given basically a free pass to the All-Star game just because of your name. The last thing that Rivers was doing before he was the coach with the Bucks was calling games on ABC, ESPN with Mike Breen. Oh, whoopee, yippee. He spent the last several weeks calling the NBA games, and now let's reward him with the head coach of the All-Star team. Come on, give me a break. It's ridiculous.
Make it
What
make
happened
sense,
there? Did
people,
Austin
'cause they
Idol
don't.
suck helium?
Oh, no, he didn't.
He did.
Yes, he did.
But, I mean, not saying Rivers is a bad coach, but geez, come on. I mean, I would have gone with somebody different. You know who that could have been? If they didn't fire him. I wonder who that could have been. Oh, Adrian Griffin. Yeah, that guy that had you 13 games over 5, or that was 30-13.
Even though he's not a head coach, I know who's played more games than Doc Rivers as coach this season.
Who?
Ben Simmons.
Oh, yes, he did, ladies. Yes, he did go there, ladies and gentlemen.
Yep, he did.
Yes, he did go there. Wow.
I have a joke, but I'm going to leave it alone.
It's unbelievable.
Oh, did we talk about let's talk about the Steven Adams trade. Steven Adams got dealt from the Memphis Grizzlies to the Rockets for Victor Oladipo.
Even though Steven Adams ain't going to be able to play this year because of that knee surgery.
Yep.
Yeah, so the Rockets got Steven Adams, and the Grizzlies got Victor Oladipo and 3 second-round picks. I almost forgot about that.
Interesting.
Almost forgot about that Steven Adams trade. Let's see right here. Trae Young and Scotty Barnes have been added to the All-Star team as injury replacements. And ever since also too, Ricky Rubio has rejoined Barcelona through the end of this season.
Oh, wow.
Oh, and by the way, we got to talk about the LED court that they're using for the All-Star game. There's videos of that, Joey.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's videos of they're going to be using an LED court instead of the traditional hardwood. The floor is going to be LED glass that they're going to use, and it's going to project different things on the floor.
Huh. That'll be interesting.
Yeah, it's going to be something a little technologically different. The one thing I'm excited for every year for the All-Star game, and it truly is one of my favorite parts, is of course the Celebrity All-Star game, which they still haven't announced the competitors for that yet. So they should announce it by the end of the week. Hopefully that we'll know which celebrities will be participating, because I know years past we've had wrestlers, we've had singers, musicians, former athletes. Of course, the greatest celebrity all-star game player of all time, Kevin Hart. So, but games-wise going on right now, we've got the Pacers and the Rockets. It's already at 41 points, so I'm expecting a 150-point game by the end of this end of the night. 41-39 at the end of the first, Pacers over the Rockets. And then you got getting ready to tip off here. Mavericks and the Nets, Magic and the Heat, and Grizzlies and Knicks. And then later on in the night, 8 p.m. Eastern, you got the Timberwolves and the Bulls. Then at 9 Eastern, you got the Thunder and the Jazz. Then at 10 Eastern, you got the Bucks and the Suns.
Here is a interesting story in regards to the Celebrity All-Star Game. And that is, even though, of course, the rosters haven't been announced, one of the coaches for the squads has been named. And ladies and gentlemen, it's going to be none other than rapper 50 Cent.
Are you serious?
Yes, he is. 50 Cent posted on Instagram when he was taking autographs involving like Carl Anthony Towns or something, saying that he was going to be coaching one of the squads this year. I was like, interesting.
Even gonna coach one of the squads this year, so we be clubbing and popping off with them 50 Cent G, you and that. Translator, please. Let's see, but and real quick before we wrap up the NBA talk, well, here's the real quick. I'll name off the All-Star East Reserve. Here's the East Reserves right here. Jaylen Brown, Donovan Mitchell, Jalen Brunson, Bam Adebayo, Julius Randle, Tyrese Maxey, and Paolo Banchero.
Man, those reserves list is phenomenal.
But here's the thing, though. Julius Randle dislocated his right shoulder and will be reevaluated in 2 to 3 weeks. Oh, and also, the Pelicans and the 76ers have each been fined for violating league injury reporting rules. The Pelicans have been fined $25,000 for failing to include Trey Murphy III on the team's injury report on January 27th. And the Sixers have been fined $75,000 for failing to include Joel Embiid on the team's injury report in an accurate and timely manner for the January 27th game against the Nuggets. And this is taking into account Philly's prior history of not being able to do that. So, and also, too, Anthony Edwards of the T-Wolves was fined $40,000 for repeatedly publicly criticizing the officiating. Yes, freedom of speech doesn't exist in the world of the NBA when it comes to the officials.
Yeah, I guess you could say free speech is for the dumb.
There's going to be a 2-day draft coming up in June. That was finalized.
Oh, really? So they're doing kind of the same thing the NFL was doing.
The first time ever that the NBA draft is going to be 2 days. It's going to be the first round on day 1, then the second round, day 2.
That's going to be cool. That's going to be nice. That way everything's not so rushed and compacted and all that stuff. It's going to make things a little bit easier to keep track of. And we will cover those not extensively like we've done before, but we will cover them over that time. All right, we got, of course, let's get into the world of the NFL, why don't we? And boy, do we got a lot to talk about.
Yes, we do.
As Cody would say, so what do you guys want to talk about?
I think there's something called the Super Bowl.
Well, before that, this man below me on my screen, I think, has a little bit of an issue. And it involves his own team and their coaching decisions. And what I'm talking about, for those of you who may not be aware, is that their new head coach is the former defensive coordinator of the Dallas Cowboys, none other than Mr. Dan Quinn.
And also the architect of the greatest choke job in sports history, 28-3, a la Super Bowl 51 between the Falcons and the Patriots.
A freaking men. Oh my gosh.
Ooh.
Oh, and speaking of the Cowboys, you know who met with the Cowboys to take over his job?
Who?
Ron Rivera.
No. Former Minnesota Vikings head coach Mike Zimmer.
What?
Yep.
Ha! Ha! Well, at least I can laugh about that one.
Yep.
So I guess they
Oh,
didn't like
and you,
Ron Rivera enough.
and what about your offensive coordinator spot? That I heard that's going to more than likely go to former Arizona Cardinals head coach Cliff Kingsbury.
Oh, do you really
It
want?
is. It isn't just about going to. It is his. We hired him the other day.
Yeah, contract talks apparently broke down between the Raiders and Kingsbury. Kingsbury turned around and said, "Nope," and he now went to your Commanders. Man, what is your state? I gotta ask you. I'm gonna treat this like a therapy session. How does that? You're on the couch laying there. I'm here with the notepad going. How does that make you feel? What emotions are you invoking as you hear the words that the master of the greatest choke job in NFL history is now your head coach and will possibly send your team into oblivion for the next few years?
Let's see. So you really want to know how I feel?
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
You really want to know how I feel?
Bring it on, brother. This is what this show is for.
In the words of Spot Stealer, The Rock, it doesn't matter how I feel.
Oh, we know it doesn't matter how Cody feels because yeah, he got screwed. We'll talk about that another time.
Yeah,
Continue on with your
I mean,
the inner destruction of your Commanders team.
Honestly, I had mixed emotions because, the players seem to like it.
Okay.
The front office seems to like it. But the fans, on the other hand, that's where it's more of a 50-50. More of a kind of standing on the fence about it. So, yes, our new head coach is the creator of the biggest choke job in Super Bowl history.
Amen.
But I do remember Dan Quinn speaking during his introductory news conference yesterday, and he was saying that he has wanted the ability to be a head coach again because he said that he would do things different. Now, what he means by different is another story waiting to happen.
Yeah.
Now, I do know that he is more of a defensive-minded coach. And over the past 3 years, even though they all ended in choke artists or choke jobs by the Dallas Cowboys, he was able to coach a top 10 defense in Dallas all 3 seasons. But at the same time, Dallas had, or I guess you could say still has, an elite defense on paper. Washington's, on the other hand, that's a work in progress. So, I don't know what Quinn's plans are. I don't know what Witt's plans are as the defensive coordinator. And I certainly don't know what Kingsbury or what's on Kingsbury's mind as being our offensive coordinator. But, Josh Harris knows what he's doing. Adam Peters apparently knows what he's doing. And, of course, right now I just have mixed emotions.
I got you.
Am I in full support of the hire? Maybe. But we'll just have to see what happens. So I'm not jumping to any conclusions right now. I'm not bashing anybody. I'm not going to bash anybody. Because as I mentioned, the players seem to love it. The front office seems to love it. Some of the fans love it, but not all of them. So as at this point, we'll just wait and see what happens.
So, Joey, let me ask you this real quick. So now that we're on the topic of the Commanders, and since Eric Bieniemy is out of a job as the offensive coordinator for the Commanders, with a short stint with the ball club, where do you see Bieniemy going to next? Because it wouldn't surprise me if he did try to return to Kansas City next year.
It honestly wouldn't surprise me either. It honestly would not surprise me because yes, Kansas City experienced a less than stellar offensive view this year, even though they were still able to make it to the Super Bowl. Yeah, it would not surprise me to see him go back to Kansas City to try to work with Andy Reid once again. And, of course, when Andy Reid decides to retire, whenever that will be, maybe Bieniemy will be next in line to be the head coach because that's a job that he's been wanting. I mean, that's a job that he's been wanting for quite some time.
And you know what? And he knows Mahomes, and he knows Mahomes very well. He knows Kelsey very well, and he knows, a couple of the receivers that are there. Obviously Watson and Valdez-Scantling. Because he was there when they won the Super Bowl. And pretty much it's the same squad.
And of course, as good a year as Rashee Rice had and hit in this rookie season, maybe pairing him with Bieniemy could make him an even more dangerous of a threat.
Mm-hmm. And since Bieniemy is so good at those offensive schemes and stuff, like he can really dice up some plays that can get them success. I mean, and we're going to get to the Super Bowl, here in a little while, but when it comes to just thinking about this and going with Kingsbury, I mean, I understand that you have mixed emotions, but in my opinion, I don't think it's going to be that great just because you have another coordinator that now in the system. And if you keep swapping coordinators, it's going to be an up and down, season, because that's why Mahomes was so good with Bieniemy in Kansas City all those years, because he had the same coordinator and they were putting up primarily the same points, on the board. So I really think that it comes down to coaching.
It's all about fluidity. That's what it is. It's all about having a fluid offense, having a fluid relationship with your coordinators and your offensive team, and especially and even on the defensive side of the ball. And here's my, as much as we make fun of Dan Quinn for the choke jobs and all that, you never know. We're gonna see how he plays as a head coach. We'll see how he does. Up
until the choke job, he was actually doing a damn good job in Atlanta.
Yeah, to me, I think he could be. To me, it could be the complete opposite. You may never know. The Commanders might have a fucking amazing record next year.
You never know.
One of the top teams. We don't know.
I don't know.
That's why I'm not going to give. That's why I'm not going to give him a bunch of grief yet on this. And Cliff Kingsbury, look, he had his ups and downs. He did what he could. He had to deal with a Cardinals team that was dissected over the past 3 years, with unfortunate injuries to DeAndre Hopkins, with the retirement of J.J. Watt.
And Larry Fitzgerald.
Kyler Murray being on the shelf for most of the year. You look at the things he had to deal with. It really, you can't blame him too much. He tries, but when you have a team that's so up and down and missing pieces and whatever the case may be, if you look at it from that perspective, it's not all. That's why I'm going to give Cliff a little bit of benefit of the doubt. We'll see how he does as an offensive coordinator. It's all, like I said, it's all up to interpretation. It's all up to what we see this coming year, what we see starting in August and September. That's all we can hope. That's all you can hope for if you're a Commanders fan.
Exactly.
Absolutely. And of course, I will say real quick, if Bieniemy does go back to Kansas City, then that could mean great news for you, Ezra, because Matt Nagy could go back to Chicago and be the head coach or the offensive coordinator once again.
Fuck that.
He actually said that to me when we were hanging out watching the basketball.
I'd rather be locked in a room and listen to Lulu than that. and then afterwards have to repeatedly listen to the snare on State Anger.
I was just fixing to say that, make reference to that. I think you would rather listen to that snare drum than him being an awful head coach in Chicago again.
Oh, it would definitely make me frantic.
If he comes back to Chicago, you'll become some kind of monster.
Oh, trust me, I will be angry with him. But moving on from that scenario, which hopefully will never fucking happen. The Saints are planning to hire the passing game specialist for the 49ers, Clint Kubiak, as their new offensive coordinator once the season is over.
Interesting.
Yep, that's their plan. Tua expects to sign a contract extension with the Dolphins once everything wraps up.
Yeah. Oh, and let's not forget the mind-boggling announcement that was made late last night, and they were talking about it early this morning. For the first time ever, and also for the first time in over 50 years, we are going to have a Friday night football game at the beginning of the season.
Really?
In which the Philadelphia Eagles will be playing the first ever game in Sao Paulo, Brazil.
Whoa!
Yeah, Sao Paulo, Brazil against an opponent that has not been named yet. But it'll be an opponent on their home side of the schedule.
Oh, damn, that's some big news.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it is. Real quick, also too, we want to talk about two pieces of unfortunate news that we heard, and that is, of course, one of the biggest news stories that transcends all this, and that is the passing of Carl Weathers. Of course, Carl Weathers is a former NFL linebacker, but also known for his role as Apollo Creed in Rocky. We unfortunately lost him at the age of 76 years old. And then Richard Castor, the former New York Jet, 3-time Pro Bowler, passed away from complications due to Parkinson's disease. Richard Castor. He passed away from Parkinson's disease at the age of 75 years old. Richard is the father of Platinum Max Castor from All Elite Wrestling. So, I want to send our condolences to Max and the entire Castor family, and definitely want to send our condolences to Carl Weathers' family, friends, fans, colleagues. Some moving tributes from his co-stars, including Sylvester Stallone and Arnold Schwarzenegger. Just name a few. Adam Sandler, of course, because he wasn't Happy Gilmore. But wanted to bring that up real quick. Also, as we look. Also, real quick before we continue on forward, the new offensive coordinator for the Steelers is Arthur Smith.
Yeah, we talked about that clown of a hire last week.
Oh my God.
They officially named him 4 days ago, so.
And Tree on YouTube put up a video of him just going, "Really? We got this guy? Really?" Great stuff from Tree as
and I
always.
remember watching that video.
Oh, it was great.
And how about this?
Great.
And how about this? Teddy Bridgewater is named the head coach of Miami Northwestern Senior High School.
Oh.
And that was actually the high school where he was once a quarterback. So
his alma mater, yep.
Yep, his alma mater.
Yep.
Very cool. That's awesome.
Let's see here. Also, who was also a candidate for the offensive coordinator job for the Commanders?
Who's that?
Chip Kelly.
Ooh. Hasn't coached in the NFL in a long time.
Oh, and in New England announced the official hire of its three new coordinators. Jeremy Springer will be the special teams coordinator. Alex Van Pelt will be the offensive coordinator, and DeMarcus Covington will be the defensive coordinator.
Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah, so let's see what else here. The Chargers have made an agreement today to hire former Michigan defensive coordinator Jesse Minter as their new defensive coordinator.
Very interesting, especially after he helped Michigan win a championship.
Oh, here we go. CBS Sports chairman Sean McManus has quipped that the NFL has alerted us that for the first time ever, we will have a double overtime game in the Super Bowl. I think it's a joke, but
yeah, that's a joke.
Yeah, it's a joke. Also, I do want to mention, speaking of, actually, hold on, before we get into Super Bowl stuff, I believe, oh, here we go. Let's see here. Oh yeah, Joe Thuney is the long shot to play for the Chiefs this week in the Super Bowl coming up. Just wanted to bring that up real quick. Yeah. So let's see. I believe there was a breaking news on I believe it was a new streaming service coming that combined Fox, NBC, or something like that. I'm trying to look that up because I think it could mean something for the world of sports. Yeah, here we go. ESPN, Fox, and Warner Brothers are putting together a juggernaut sports streaming app.
Okay.
Interesting.
Yep, it's going to be Warner Brothers Discovery is preparing to launch a streaming service in partnership with ESPN, Disney, and Fox Sports. It's going to be a standalone app, which they all share 1/3 partnership. It's poised to have networks like ESPN, ESPN2, ESPN News, ABC, Fox, all the FS channels, BTN, TNT, TBS, True TV. And they will air NFL games. And they will air mainly all from the Big Four sports: NASCAR, PGA, Grand Slam tennis, and
NBA, all that type of stuff. Yeah. Really interesting, that this is happening, and again, it's like, we talked about, briefly here on the show, and obviously the Nation's Corner touched upon this, but the fact that WWE, going to Netflix next year for Monday Night Raw on a $5 billion deal, worth 10 years and stuff like that, and just an incredible way how the landscape of how we take in our content, with streaming is really taking its course.
Yep. Yes, it really has. All right. We ready? Super Bowl time. Super Bowl talk. And of course, the big game this Sunday, live on CBS. It is going to be huge. It's, of course, the San Francisco 49ers and the Kansas City Chiefs. A couple days ago, the team touched down finally in Las Vegas, and they had their media day the other day. Some good content.
They touched down in Vegas. I believe they touched down in Vegas Sunday night, and they had their first day with the media yesterday.
And that's what I want to get into, because there's one man on that media panel that really made a case, and that is Mr. George Kittle. The first question that he was asked at the podium was about the Cody Rhodes, Roman Reigns, Rock story.
Oh, wow.
That's the first question he was asked at the podium, and he goes, "Oh, we're starting off hot. Okay. All right, these are the type of questions that I look for." He goes, "I like this." And so he gave a scenario on the Roman Reigns, Rock, Cody situation, which was funny. But yeah, the media day and all that has gone. Now it's practice all this week to get ready. Of course, this Thursday in town during the Super Bowl, WWE will be in town for their WrestleMania 40 press conference type deal. But also, there's going to be a lot of crazy shit going around, concerts, different things like that going around. And if you're in Vegas, have a great time and enjoy yourselves. And if you're going to be at the big game, God bless you for having to make it more money than all of us put together.
And also as well, I mean, you got the Black Crows playing 2 concerts before the Super Bowl in a couple of days from each other on the 10th and on the 9th and the 10th, I believe. And just really cool that they're doing that, playing 2 shows in Vegas. And
2 shows?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's going to be, I don't think I'll be able to go to both shows. That'd be a little bit hard to handle.
Yeah.
It took him a second. To catch it.
Yeah. If you did that, you're just trying too hard, twice as hard. Come on.
All right. But yeah, there's a lot going on. But the big game is what we're going to talk about. And both teams coming in there, momentum. Of course, like you said in the intro, Steven, the Chiefs looking to win back-to-back Super Bowls. 49ers looking to win their 6th Lombardi trophy. It's going to be a battle. It's going to be one hell of a war between these 2 teams. I mean, if you look at both sides, you've got, of course, Patrick Mahomes with Travis Kelce and his whole gang on his side of the ball, in the defense that they have, which is a great defense. And then you look at the 49ers with Brock Purdy and Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle, Christian McCaffrey. And then you look at Nick Bosa, Fred Warner, Dre Greenlaw. You look at all the guys on that defense. I mean, it's gonna be a hoss fight. to use a wrestling term.
It's going to be a heavyweight fight. I mean, just these two teams know each other, especially Mahomes knows that 49ers defense all too well because, like I said in the pre-intro, they made his life a living hell for 3.5 quarters in that Super Bowl 4 years ago. And just unbelievable how San Francisco kept that high-flying Chiefs offense, held in check, for 3.5 quarters, and then they just took off, and before you can even blink, the Chiefs were up 21 or the 31-20 in the fourth quarter, and the game was over, and the Niners had them dead to rights. They were up by 10, in that game, and then that wasp play by Mahomes that had the confidence to call that play on 3rd and 15 from the 35-yard line. And as we all know, Tyreek Hill's speeds, burns, that double combination, it burned the Niners. And that was the one play that changed the momentum swing for the Chiefs, and they ended up winning this game going away. And now 4 years later, when you look at the game, these two teams are really different when it comes to their offenses. The defense for both of these teams is very strong. I mean, the Niners defense is really strong, and the Chiefs defense, who would have thought that the Chiefs defense would overshadow the Chiefs offense? But Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce are where they thought they would be. And myself, you, Ezra, Joey, and Kevin, and all of us here on the show, we thought that Kansas City was going to have an uphill to climb to get back to the big game, because the way their offense under Matt Nagy as their offensive coordinator and Andy Reid still calling the plays, like this team was not putting up the giant numbers that like we've mentioned before when Eric Bieniemy was there as their offensive coordinator, and having Mahomes still playing at a high level and getting it done when it matters the most in the playoffs. Because this reminds me of Tom Brady, guys, because when Brady had his first year with Tampa Bay, him and Rob Gronkowski during the entire 2021 regular season did not have that all-star connection, that Pro Bowl connection throughout the entire year. But when it mattered the most, the two best players of that team came to play when it mattered the most. And Mahomes and Travis Kelce have been playing lights out ball. And Mahomes said during the game with Baltimore, when they scored that first touchdown with him and Travis Kelce, he said, "We're here. We're fucking here." Because he believes in his team. And he is in a prime position right now to do something that has not been done in 20 years since the Patriots repeated as back-to-back champions. And that one word can solidify the Kansas City Chiefs, who for 50 years did not taste that success of having a Lombardi. And when they won their first championship with Mahomes at the helm, with Andy Reid as coach, and all those great players, that right there was a great, Cinderella story for a city and a state that has not had success all those years. And then to go through the ups and downs that they did the next 2 years, and to where they're at today, it is amazing how losing to Cincinnati 2 years ago really humbled them. And they put up great numbers last year with a different receiving core. And this year, even though it's not great numbers, they're still here in the Super Bowl because their great Hall of Fame players are showing up making plays when it matters most, because this is where the chips are on the table, the games are on the line. This is where you make your bread and your butter. This is where you make your legacy set in stone for infamy, for immortalize your career. And if Mahomes and the Chiefs can make enough plays and stay ahead of the game and not turn the ball over like they did 4 years ago, I would not be surprised if the Chiefs win the Super Bowl. However, that defense in San Francisco is going to be very tough to beat, like you said, Ezra. Because with Nick Bosa, with Fred Warner, with Drake Greenlaw, with Chase Young and everybody, in the front seven, in the middle, and in the secondary, they are looking for vengeance. They are looking for sweet revenge to beat this Chiefs team and to win their first Super Bowl in 30 years. And they have the firepower on offense to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely agree with that, Joey.
So this right here has the feeling to be one of the best and biggest, obviously, games in ages. Because the talent that you have on each side of the ball, on each aspect of that respective team, is just mind-boggling. I mean, you have. All right, so let's take a look at each position, or at least each of the major positions. Quarterbacks. You obviously got to give the edge to Patrick Mahomes in this one because he's definitely been in more Super Bowls than, of course, his counterpart Brock Purdy, because this is Brock Purdy's first ever Super Bowl. So Mahomes clearly has the advantage there. Running backs. Now, this is obviously Pacheco's second Super Bowl because he was with the team last year.
It's also Hilaire's second Super Bowl with the team.
Yeah, this is also Hilaire's second Super Bowl. But surprisingly, I gotta get, well, not really surprisingly, but from my standpoint, I gotta give the advantage to Christian McCaffrey. Because yes, Pacheco can catch, and yes, Pacheco can run, and yes, Pacheco has speed. But there's just something to me about Christian McCaffrey that just says technicality. Because McCaffrey can catch, he can run, and he also has speed, and he's also not afraid to knock you on your butt and keep going for extra yardage. So that's I definitely got to give the edge to Christian McCaffrey. Receivers on Kansas City, you got Rashee Rice, you got Marquez Valdez-Scantling, you got Kadarius Toney, and of course I'm going to include the tight ends in this aspect as well. You got Travis Kelce, who even though on one of his down years is still seen as one of the best NFL tight ends in today's game, if not the best. Then on the San Francisco side of things, you got Deebo Samuel, you got Brandon Ayuk, you got Jawan Jennings, you got George Kittle over there at tight end. I mean, this one, I would give a very, very slight edge to San Francisco because they definitely have more star power. Travis Kelce makes this an almost 50% as far as who is better. And then, of course, that 49ers O-line led by left tackle Trent Williams is just amazing. They have done their job this year. They have protected Brock Purdy from any major injuries. They have protected his blind side. They have created holes for Christian McCaffrey and Deebo Samuel to run through whenever they call them on running plays. So, I mean, and the Chiefs' offensive line, they're not too shabby either. Because Patrick Mahomes, even though this wasn't one of his best years as a quarterback, at least he was able to stay on his feet. And that's what an offensive line is supposed to do. An offensive line is supposed to protect their quarterback at all costs from getting hit on the field. Now, the X Factor, who I think has the best chance to play their best overall game this year, is going to be that San Francisco 49ers defense. Because, like you said, Steven, with Nick Bosa, with Fred Warner, with Dre Greenlaw, with Javon Hargrave, I mean, can you say deadly? Because that defensive end linebacker core is almost monstrous.
I would say also, real quick to add to that as well, I think their defense is better than it was in 19, even though their defense in 19 was incredible. And and they still pretty much had the same core players. And now that you have Chase Young in the middle alongside Bosa. I mean, come on. I mean, it's crazy. But Hargrave, who went to the Super Bowl with Philadelphia last year, and I think he's gotten better because because he's with these guys. And these guys, they know what they're doing. They know their assignments. And when you look at the big picture, I mean, and like you said, Mahomes, I would give the edge to him as far as quarterbacking in the Super Bowl because this is Purdy's first game. And that's my biggest concern for San Francisco going into this game is because just like Mahomes did 4 years ago, there's going to be jitters in Brock Purdy. And that's the one thing I really think that played in to the Chiefs being down so early just because Mahomes was so nervous. And now that he's been to now fixing to be 4 of these, he's used to this. He's been in this situation before. He's used to the big game. He's won 2 of them. He's lost 1. So he's been on both sides of the coin, when it comes to winning and losing a Super Bowl. And that's the one thing about San Francisco. You got to keep Purdy upright because as we all know, when Trent Williams is not in the lineup or when he's not playing at his best, that Niners offensive line is not that good. Trent Williams is the key piece to that offensive line functioning on a regular basis because that's why they've been so good because he is the leader of the offensive line. And you're right, when it comes to Christian McCaffrey, I give the edge to the running backs position because Christian McCaffrey in a blink could turn from what could be a 1-yard loss, a 2-yard loss, hell, even a 3-yard loss into a 45-yard run. I mean, that's how good McCaffrey is. And as far as receivers go, I completely agree with you because I give the edge to the receiving core for San Francisco. I mean, with Ayuk and Kittle and Deebo Samuel and all of those great guys, and Jawan Jennings, when he gets going. And obviously, Christian McCaffrey is a deadly weapon in the receiving game because not only can he run the ball between the tackles and into the outside, he can also catch passes, whether it be, check downs or he can even go down the field. That's how good McCaffrey is as a 1-2 player. And if I'm San Francisco, you've got to get Purdy going in this game because if the offensive line is not keeping him upright, Chris Jones in that defense is going to eat him alive because Chris Jones, is going to make some plays in this Super Bowl because, again, he's one of the key pieces to this defense, and he is the de facto leader on this team. And he's hungry. He wants to hunt. And the Niners have to be very alert of keeping them upright, and so does the Chiefs' offensive line because, I mean, again, the offensive line last year in the Super Bowl against Philadelphia, especially in that second half, or hell, all game, the Philadelphia defensive, unit did not lay a finger on Mahomes. And I think the Niners, their game plan, they need to watch that tape in the from Super Bowl 54, 4 years ago. And they need to dissect, what did we do to get Mahomes uncomfortable? Because that is the key reason why he had 2 interceptions in that game in Miami. And if you're San Francisco, if you get ahead of Kansas City, you can't let the foot off the gas. Because Mahomes is going to go, all right, if you leave one slim of hope, we're going to come back on you again. And there is no excuse for San Francisco. Because the Chiefs have been here. They've done it. San Francisco as an organization has not won a Super Bowl in 30 years. They've been to 2 Super Bowls since the Super Bowl against the Chargers in Super Bowl 29. And that's the last Super Bowl they won. And they have all the pressure on them to win their 6th Lombardi trophy.
Well, Steven, here's the thing too, is that one of the things that even not only did Kyle Shanahan say, but also one of the things that their defensive coordinator specified is that they were going to work on the defense, especially after the horrific half that they had against the Lions in the NFC Championship game where they gave up all those points. They don't want an incident like that to happen again. They don't want to give Kansas City a chance to go up on them like the Lions did. I'm sure that won't happen again, but I think that's one of going to be the specific things that Kansas City or that San Francisco is going to focus on. Is going to be the defensive play, because they have to be tight against an offense like Patrick Mahomes, like Travis Kelce, like all these guys who are a part of that team. You look at that team in general, he's got some weapons, and it's going to be, they got to try and lock down those positions, try and lock down those crossing routes, those deep balls, whatever Patrick Mahomes, those screen passes. They got to try and do their best to lock everything down, blitz them if they can. But it's going to be, that's the thing that they got to focus on, is that defense. Because after what happened at the Lions game, where they gave up those points like that, that is unacceptable. As he said, it was unacceptable, and that is going to be unacceptable in the Super Bowl, because the Chiefs will make them pay, and will make them pay severely.
And not only that, but to add to that as well, before we throw it back to Joey, real quick as well, when you look at the two games that the Chiefs and the Niners have played in the playoffs en route to Super Bowl 58 in Vegas, you have two teams who played completely different games when it comes to consistency. The Chiefs' offense, yes, against the Ravens, was not consistent in that second half. They did not score a single point in that second half. But in the first half, they were good. In the Bills game, they were great for the majority of the game. Mahomes and Kelce was lethal in that game. When you look at the San Francisco offense and that Green Bay game and that Detroit game, they were down by double digits both times. Basically, or they were close to being down double digits both times. Against Green Bay, it was still a single-digit game throughout that game. But Detroit, they were down by 17. So by losing in the game multiple times to both Green Bay and Detroit, let's just play devil's advocate here real quick. If you're down, I don't care if it's 10 points, 14 points, if it stays within that neck of range of the game, Mahomes is not letting off the gas, because you cannot afford to go down against a great quarterback. Because if you're down double digits, and even when you throw your counter punches and your haymakers, if they throw a haymaker back or two, it's done. You're over. The game is over. And, and that's the one thing that Kyle Shanahan, is feeling the pressure too as well, because he still has not been able to slay the dragon that is 28-3, because he was just as responsible in the Falcons losing the Super Bowl, as Dan Quinn was. And he was also responsible, for them losing in the last several, championship games that they were in. And we're not going to count the one that they faced Philadelphia in, because it was just the injury bug that bit them at the worst possible time. But when it comes to making it back to the Super Bowl, this is their best chance to win a Super Bowl. And if they don't win, the window could be closing for San Francisco.
You definitely got a great point there, Steven, because, you're right. Kyle Shanahan played just as a part in that 28-3 absolute disastrous comeback as anybody else did, because Kyle Shanahan was the offensive coordinator for that Atlanta Falcons team. So yeah, you make a really excellent point there, Steven. And with the whole, I'm not saying, let's see, what's the word I'm looking for? With all the drama that's surrounding this game, both teams are great in their own respective ways. And it's going to be very interesting to see who comes out of this game as the winner. Of course, we'll get to our predictions here in just a minute. And of course, I'll say that sentence whenever we get there. But, yeah, Patrick Mahomes has all the talent in the world right now, and he has all the charisma and all the amazing gameplay and mindset that he's had over the past several years, ever since he was named a starter after he got drafted back in 2017. Mahomes is definitely a great player, and Kyle Shanahan is, he's got to be scratching his head, because Brock Purdy was asked during the news conference or the media day last night, or one of the media days last night, when he was asked about his performance in the NFC Championship game, and he said, and I quote, "It was a really challenging game, and we cannot let ourselves get behind in this first half like we did against Detroit, because if we do, then Kansas City is going to run all over us." And honestly, he's right.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the 49ers cannot go into this game thinking about their second half comeback against Detroit, because they got to play a full 60-minute game if they want to keep up with these Kansas City Chiefs. Because the Chiefs, they were here last year. The 49ers were one game short because of that injury bug. But yeah, the Chiefs know what it's like to be here. I mean, Patrick Mahomes has been across the field with some of the, or at least in the past 2 years, with one of the GOATs, Tom Brady, and at the time, one of the best dual threat quarterbacks in the game, Jalen Hurts. So I'm not trying to say he's trying to brush off Brock Purdy, but at the same time, Purdy needs to be on his A game if he wants to guide the 49ers to the promised land. And he's got the team to do it. As long as that offensive line can protect him, and as long as Christian McCaffrey, Samuel, Ayuk, and Kittle all play the games that they're supposed to play, Purdy will be just fine. And one interesting fact I want to bring up here, the fact that Brock Purdy has reached the Super Bowl in only his second year being a quarterback, brings me to a little bit of research that I did earlier today. And if Brock Purdy was to lead the 49ers to the Super Bowl this year, or title this year, he will become the 5th quarterback in NFL history to win a Super Bowl in his second year as a starting quarterback.
That's a crazy stat.
Because he would join Kurt Warner back in 1999, Tom Brady back in 2001, Ben Roethlisberger back in 2005, and Russell Wilson back in 2013 as the only quarterbacks to win the Super Bowl in his second year as a starter. So yeah, Purdy definitely has the pressure, but Purdy has also performed very, very well under pressure.
Yes, he has.
So this will be a very interesting showdown that's going to take place in Vegas on Sunday night. And I was on the fence about watching this game at first because the 49ers and the Chiefs have been have been two of the top teams in the NFL for a very long time. But now I'm all for into watching this game because of the talent that's on both sides of the ball and how interesting of a showdown this game will be.
And also to add that too as well, when you look at what's at stake,
the only reason you're watching the game is hoping Taylor Swift will show up.
No, not by a long shot.
And what's also great about this game as well, when you look at what's at stake, especially for both these teams, first with the Chiefs, because Patrick Mahomes has history right here in front of him. If his team plays great and wins this game, he could join Terry Bradshaw, he could join Tom Brady and Joe Montana as the only quarterbacks to win 3 Super Bowl titles. And that one word that keeps lingering in the media, in the sports world, and everywhere, around the world, in the world of sports, dynasty. And if they win this championship, you can pretty much call this team a dynasty. And the Niners do not want to be the team that loses to this team again, because it's a familiar foe that they're familiar with. And it's going to be, and I'm with you, Joey. I am so excited for this game because it's a heavyweight match, 2 evenly matched teams. Some positions are better than others, but we know the great talent is going to come out in this game, and they're going to play great.
Some positions are better than others, Steven. I know. Ask your girl.
Got him.
But ladies and gentlemen, We got scores. We got scores to throw down. Ladies and gentlemen, our final score prediction of the 2023-2024 NFL season. What a way to end it out with, of course, the Super Bowl pick. And so it's obvious. Kansas City Chiefs, San Francisco 49ers, Las Vegas, Allegiant Stadium, Sunday on CBS.
At 6:30.
Is that 6:30 Eastern or 6:30 Pacific?
6:30 Eastern.
6:30 Eastern.
Okay, 6:30 Eastern then. Okay. All right. Who wants to go first? And I'm saying that because I still got to think.
I'll go
I
first
still
with
got
Kevin.
30.
I'll go first with Kevin's score. Kevin sent me in his score, and it's a very interesting scenario because he's got the Chiefs at the half up 21-14. And then into the fourth quarter, he has the Chiefs leading San Francisco 24-21. And with 30 seconds to go in the fourth quarter, he has Brock Purdy engineering a go-ahead game-winning touchdown drive, a touchdown pass on a slant route to Brandon Ayuk to lift San Francisco their 6th Lombardi trophy with a final score of 28-24.
Man, he wrote the whole fucking script, man. He should be a writer for WWE.
Hey,
Hashtag we want Cody.
we want Cody.
That was great.
Oh, man. I mean, this is definitely going to be a barn burner of a game.
It's tough, man. It's tough to call. So many factors.
Exactly, because when you look at the pressure that's on Brock, as far as with the big game mentality, him never being in the Super Bowl, and we all had our doubts heading into the Super Bowl or whether they were going to make it, because during the first half, when Detroit was owning San Francisco, the offensive line was not blocking at all for Purdy. And again, it's like we said in our analysis on this game, the Niners offensive line has got to protect Purdy, because if they don't, they're going to be in a world of trouble.
All right, I got my score.
Go ahead.
Okay.
All right, so I am going to be something very similar to the lines of Kevin's story. I think the Chiefs are going to be out in front at halftime. I'm going to go a halftime score of 17-14. I do think this is going to come down to the wire. I think the Chiefs are going to be up on the Niners in the fourth quarter, but Brock Purdy is going to lead them on another touchdown drive, but it's not going to be Brock Purdy that gets the last touchdown.
Oh.
It's going to be Christian McCaffrey who gets the final touchdown. I think Christian McCaffrey is going to run in the last touchdown of the game, and I think the 49er defense is going to hold Kansas City in the final seconds, and I think the San Francisco 49ers are going to walk away as Super Bowl champions with a final score of 35-31.
This is a tough one. And I know Kansas City has a lot of
35-31.
35-31, that's your score?
Yep, 35-31. Niners.
Okay. It's a tough one. Kansas City's got momentum coming in there. Of course, they got all the eyes of the world on them because of the whole Taylor Swift thing. They've got a lot of press, a lot of publicity, a lot of things riding on it. But to me, the most complete team out of all this is the 49ers. Now that withstanding, You look at the way the 49ers played against the Lions, and their defense looked dreadful.
Yes.
Until they locked down in that second half. If the Lions play or the 49ers play like they did against the Lions, the Chiefs will win. However, Kyle Shanahan is no dummy. Kyle Shanahan will get things locked up, and he'll make sure that defense is strong. Obviously, they're going to be without their all-star guard, Joe Thuney, who's going to be out due to an injury. But most of the offensive core and most of the pretty much all the offensive core and most of the defensive core will be ready to go. It's a tough call. I'm gonna go San Francisco as well. I am going to go a little bit of a closer score, but a little higher. 37-34.
I love where you guys are going with this, because it kind of just made me thinking of my scenario as far as this game, how I think it's going to go a little bit easier to call, because it's such a hard game to call, because either one of these two teams can win. That's why they're here. That's why they're there in the Super Bowl. And I think that Mahomes is going to have a great game. I think he's going to throw for over 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. Or no, excuse me, 1 interception. I think that the Chiefs are going to be driving, my halftime score. I'm going to go halftime score similar to what Joey's thinking. I'm going to go. I'm going to switch it a little bit. I'm going to have San Francisco up 17-13 at half. And I think heading into the second half, because the way I got this game going, it's going to be like the Super Bowl 38 game was between the Panthers and the Patriots, where the first half was all defense. And there was a couple of touchdowns here and there, but it was predominantly defense. Second half, shootout. It's going to be nothing but fireworks in the second half. I think the Chiefs are going to be up 30-27 in the fourth quarter. And this is where Mahomes makes that critical mistake that leads to the interception. And he's had a great game thus far. That 1 interception will cost him the game. And I have Brock Purdy, like Joey said, leading them on a touchdown drive. But my touchdown score and the MVP is Christian McCaffrey. I have Christian McCaffrey winning the MVP, being the first running back, I believe, since Terrell Davis, who was the last running back to win the MVP in the Super Bowl. I have McCaffrey having over 150 scrimmage yards, 3 touchdowns. I think he's going to have a great game, and that's why I am picking San Francisco to beat Kansas City in the Super Bowl 34-30. Game-winning touchdown drive. And here's also a key factor. Okay, McCaffrey, I think, is going to have most of his yards in the first half. They're killing him. He's killing them. They can't stop him. Then they finally, kind of stop him a little bit. But then, just when you think you have the game won, just like that, in the blink of an eye, wham! McCaffrey runs off a big 65-yard touchdown to win the game.
Whoa!
Because keep this in mind. And this is why I'm saying a 65-yard touchdown, a big touchdown to win the game. Because in my opinion, I think San Francisco is gonna have their timeouts. I think both teams are gonna have their timeouts. And I think the Chiefs will get one more crack at it to score a touchdown. But I think San Francisco's defense is going to make just enough plays to win this game. Now, with that being said, and us giving our predictions, and we're all going with San Francisco, would we be surprised if the Chiefs won this? Of course not. Because that's why Patrick Mahomes is who he is. That's why Travis Kelce is who he is. That's why Andy Reid is one of the greatest head coaches in the National Football League, and not just NFL, but also in the world of sports. Legacies are at stake for the Chiefs in this game. Because if they win this game, dynasty. And legacy for San Francisco overall is at stake as well. Because they will join the Patriots and the Steelers as the only teams in NFL history to win 6 Super Bowls.
All right. Well, that is our predictions for the Super Bowl. Of course, the game once again Sunday on CBS, 6 p.m. Eastern Star Time. Tune in. Of course, the halftime show this year will be Usher, along with some supposed special guests, some hip hop and R&B legends to join him as well. Those have not been announced, so check that out on CBS this week. And I don't have anything else really. I think that's pretty much it from my end. How about you guys? You guys have anything?
I think I'm good.
I think I'm good. This was great. This was phenomenal, us breaking it down.
Yeah, absolutely. But I do want to say real quick, there is one little piece of heartbreaking news that I want to make sure we point out. And this is about a sport that we don't really talk about here, but the college baseball world lost a true icon.
Okay.
The all-time winningest coach in NCAA college baseball history, Mike Martin, who was the head coach of the Florida State Seminoles, who had more than 2,000 wins in his career, has passed away at the age of 79, surrounded by his family. So I definitely want to send out prayers and condolences to the family of former Florida State head coach Mike Martin.
Absolutely. Condolences to him and his family. Final thoughts, guys, and of course that leads off to Joey. Final thoughts, my man.
Once again, another great show with you guys. Awesome job on the Super Bowl analysis. I'll tell you what, man, I'm ready for Sunday because I'm ready to watch this game. I'm ready to watch it come down to the wire, and I'm ready to see who's going to be hoisting that Vince Lombardi trophy as Super Bowl champions. But until we get there, enjoy the sports wherever you are. Stay warm. Whatever you got to do, just have fun with it. Peace out.
All right, Joey. Steven, you know the drill.
Yes, I do. Great show with you guys. And also the NFL Honors will be this Thursday in Vegas, as well as there's a lot going on, guys. I mean, you got that. You got the WWE with the WrestleMania 40 kickoff. Press conference happening in Vegas. And honestly, I think the announcement's going to be that WrestleMania 41 will be coming to Vegas next year. So how cool that the Super Bowl and possibly WrestleMania will be going to Vegas next year. And just enjoy the sports, enjoy the Super Bowl this weekend. And great show with you guys. And don't forget to follow us here on social media at ON_Sports Show. Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube are all at Our Nation Sports Show, and all of that good stuff. And don't forget to follow the Nation's Corner on Twitter at Nation's Corner. Everywhere it's on YouTube, Instagram, and the Facebook, it is at the Nation's Corner. And don't forget to check out the show this Saturday as the guys and gal talk about the wildest weeks in professional wrestling. And in case you live under a rock, hashtag We Want Cody has been trending for 4 days and going. And who knows what's going to happen. It's an interesting time to be a professional wrestling fan because we have no idea what's going on with WrestleMania 40 in Philadelphia. But all I know is we are along for the ride, and it will be interesting. And again, like we said at the top of the hour an hour ago, our thoughts and our prayers go out to the family and friends and musicians friends of the late, great Toby Keith, who left behind a legacy that will live on forever. And thank you for all the great songs that you have written and recorded and performed and all that good stuff. And just, and so grateful that music will live on forever, because this just goes to show you that legends will never die. Ezra, you know how to wrap this up as well as you know how to do, my friend.
All right, we'll do. It's a great show with you guys. Thank you so much for the takes on the Super Bowl and the NFL and the NBA as always. It's been a great time here. Don't forget to follow us on our individual social medias that'll be listed in the description of this video. Don't forget to follow, Too Sweet Cosplay, Nation's Corner, everywhere across our socials. Follow us there. And of course, we'll be back with you next Tuesday to cover the aftermath of Super Bowl 58. And we can't wait to talk about it with you guys. It's going to be one hell of a show. And with that being said, for Kevin Rory, for Joey Thornton, for our boy Randy Garr, and also for Stephen Wyand, I am Ezra Vickery. We will see you right here next week with another great edition of our Nation Sports Show. Take care, everybody. And we will see you all next week, next Tuesday, same time, same YouTube channel. Peace out.